weather here. I woke up on Sunday, a huge piece of lattice had flown off my roof and onto my car. And that wasn't even the number one weirdest thing that happened. I had like 80 texts when I woke up sending me this article from Rolling Stone. It says, Trump White House pressured Disney to censor Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Disney is the company that owns ABC.
After being humiliated for years, it was only a matter of time until Donald Trump finally lost it. Some of Jimmy's statements irritated Trump so much that he had White House aides contact Disney, the main company that hosts Jimmy's show, in an attempt to stop him. Once more, as Jimmy Kimmel dismantled into pieces, Donald Trump sobbed in front of the entire globe. As everyone is aware, Donald Trump has been in the news since he was found guilty in the Manhattan hush money trial. Let's find out what Jimmy thinks about this.
Our network, and Jimmy Kimmel is me, so obviously I was interested in seeing what it was. But according to the story, in 2018, Donald Trump, who was at that time president of the United States, was so upset about my jokes that I made about him, he directed his staffers at the White House to call Disney to tell them to rein me in.
Jimmy continued by stating that he had heard from sources that the Trump White House had called Disney at least twice to convey the president's ire regarding Kimmel's monologues and jabs. Who knew that the White House also threatened comedians in action movie dialogue? I mean, after witnessing Jimmy Kimmel make witty jokes about you on his live show, anyone would start to feel humiliated. It's not like we couldn't have predicted this kind of foolish action from Trump or his crew. Check this out for yourself.
Calls were made from the Trump White House to, quote, convey the president's anger regarding Kimmel's monologues and jabs. In other words, President Karen demanded to speak to my manager.
But the story didn't end here. Jimmy was unfettered in his ridicule of Trump's children, remarking that he should be able to take jokes given the kinds of sons he'd have spawned.
The guy who fathered Eric and Don Jr. would know how to handle jokes, but I guess not.
How Donald Trump never seems to stop poking fun of himself is amazing. You have 34 other cases to handle for crying out loud, and instead of focusing on them, you're calling out a comedian to shut up because he made jokes about you. But if Donald Trump hadn't plastered his in public areas, he might have completely avoided that. Jimmy exposed Trump's hush money controversy, which further damaged Trump's reputation. He achieved this by asserting that Trump would typically offer a certain amount of money to someone in order to silence them.
Next time Donald Trump ever tries to stop someone from talking about him on television, and it's me. Usually when he wants somebody to stop talking about him, he pays them $130,000, but he wanted me to do it.
For you, that's Jimmy Kim. Trump just continues to make foolish decisions that might be used against him. It seems as though he's pushing you to ruin him so he can look foolish in front of the whole world. Maybe he feels ashamed. Jimmy Kimmel didn't stop there. He included ass spanks and dreams about his daughter Ivanka, who happens to know. He went on to talk about his hush money prosecution and made the suggestion that Trump was a tiny wiener or carrot. In addition, he labeled Trump's complaint as a Trumper tantrum and offered an explanation for his outrage following his exposure.
He wanted me to do it for nothing. I wonder what it was specifically that sparked his Trumper tantrum. I wonder what it was he found so objectionable. I don't know. Maybe it was the time I had Stormy Daniels look at a plate of carrots and to size them up, and she picked the little one.
The show's funniest moment came when Jimmy began calling out Trump by different names and suggested that this could be the cause of his outbursts. Keep in mind that Jimmy Kimmel simply destroyed Trump and did not hold back while calling him names. I completely concur with Jimmy's thoughts at the time she accepted Trump's offer, even if I am positive that very few individuals on the planet would desire to see Trump curled up next to them in bed. See what Jimmy had to say about that.
About him, he pays them $130,000, but he wanted me to do it for nothing. I wonder what it was specifically that sparked his Trumper tantrum. I wonder what it was he found so objectionable. I don't know. Maybe it was the time I had Stormy Daniels look at a plate of carrots and to size them up, and she picked the little one. I don't know. Maybe it was one of the nicknames I was going through, like Tanny Soprano, Nostradamus, Emperor.
Jimmy added a couple more scathing nicknames and said he only had 100 left, which is obvious proof that he despises Trump.
I only have 100 more, okay? Quid pro comb-over, Uncle Scam, Fibonacci, the One Terminator, Chocolate Mussolini, YMCA Hole, the Recount of Monte Cristo. Daddy Bone Spurs or George Washington?
Everyone would agree that Trump started the whole thing by having his wife sign an NDA, sleeping with an adult film star on the first day of his trial, and cheating on her. He was convicted of these charges, making him the first president in American history to do so. It's incredible how many Americans still believe that Donald Trump should be able to lead the nation and continue to support him. Electing a high school kid to the presidency would be a smarter move than choosing Trump. At least, the youngster would be old enough to comprehend the circumstances and take accountability. But Trump's humiliation doesn't end here. You may remember that Jimmy couldn't help but chuckle at the circumstances and say what he had to say when he saw Trump nodding off on his first day in court.
Speaking of sleepy, Donald Trump, I guess Teddy Roosevelt is tired from all the winning because he nodded off in court again today. CNN reported Trump is slumped back in his chair with his eyes closed, which is what some call sleeping. Why is this not on TV, by the way? I want to see the drool. The good news.
Even though there is a ton of evidence against Donald Trump, a convicted felon, he doesn't seem to care that he is being prosecuted on grave charges. Maybe he thinks he can use his money to get out of them, assuring Mr. Trump that unlawful payouts cannot be used to disguise legal proceedings. In any case, he's as easygoing as it gets. Because of his infectious ignorance, Donald Trump has a problem. He has embarrassed himself in front of the public on multiple occasions and has been made fun of by Jimmy Kimmel. Trump used to moan to Kimmel about how much she hated him and other things, but Kimmel didn't seem to care and kept making fun of all the dumb things Trump did. A few years earlier, Kimmel read aloud a critical post that Trump had written about himself on his own platform, Truth Social. Naturally, Jimmy just annihilated him, as he always does.
Has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again.
The entire audience erupted in laughter, and it was obvious that everyone anticipated Jimmy Kimmel's explosive answer, which was sure to take Trump out. Not too long afterward, he said,
Would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again.
Continuing his tradition of taking shots at Donald Trump and many other Republicans on his regular show, Kimmel responded to the post, prompting cheers and laughs from the audience.
See?
Trump broke down in tears and yelled at his MAGA fans after Kimmel's last remarks about his lawsuits infuriated him.
Get out on Truth, which is on fire, by the way. Truth Social is doing great. I never expected he was going to be reading it just prior to the movie of the year, which is the big one, right? That's the big one. I think they get the man, the woman, now the movie of the year. He reads my truth on air. He reads exactly what you read. And now the big story is that they all begged him not to do it, don't do it. Right. He probably stupidly, he had to act in a short period of time, like minutes, right? He had minutes because he's...
Kimmel was obviously going to take a tough stance against Trump when he addressed him on his late-night show. In a response that made it clear he wasn't scared of Donald Trump and wasn't impacted by his opinion of him. Kimmel said,
I love this. I love that this bothered him so much. I love that Fox picked a news guy nobody knows.
Kimmel's amusing comment about Trump making fun of him by bringing up his time in jail went viral across the country, bolstering his resilient stance. One joke, in fact, gained so much popularity among Americans that it was incorporated into merchandise. Watch this video to hear Kimmel discuss the reaction he got from Americans following his Oscar joke.
Responded to Trump's interview on his late-night show saying, "Now what he doesn't realize is that I love this. I love that this bothered him so much. I love that Fox picks a news guy nobody knows to interview him."
Today, you on Oscar Sunday, there are now dozens of past your jail time shirts for sale.
Trump is continually insulting Jimmy Kimmel. Thus, it appears that his attempts to fire him have backfired horribly. The most shocking part about his critique of Trump is that he went on to discuss how, while knowing full well that everything he was saying throughout the trial was a lie, the former president had boasted about a large throng that had gathered to support him.
We can't get, it's not a very big thing for us. We don't really care that much.
Right. If there's one thing we know about Donald Trump, is that he couldn't care less about crowd size.
People want to get out there, and you have more police. The only people that are let out there is the radical left lunatics. And they put our people 4 or 5 blocks away. There are a lot of them, too.
To put it mildly, Kimmel's observation of the alleged mass gathering outside the courthouse proved Trump to be a liar.
There are. I drove by there last week. I was in New York. There's no one there. You have no supporters in your hometown. There's one crazy lady outside his apartment building screaming at ghosts. That's all you got. The only supporters Trump has in New York is the army of ass-kissers who fly in from Washington every day to suckle his teats on camera.
How much more humiliation on all fronts must Trump endure before he learns that stopping his hate speech would simply cause him to lose face on social media? Look at this video where Trump's own niece, Mary Trump, calls him out for being such a wimp. For the first time in history, even members of the former president's own family would not support him due to the intense ridicule he is receiving.
That Donald is a very weak person, or at least some of us know that, and that his ego is a very fragile thing that needs to be bolstered at every moment. He needs the rallies. He needs the applause in the dining room at Mar-a-Lago, because he knows deep down he's nothing of what he claims to be. You know, he's just a...
Let's go on to the next Jimmy Kimmel Live segment, which aired on May 21, 2024. In this one, Kimmel completely dismantled Trump, who had been complaining nonstop that the court was preventing him from attending his son Barron's high school graduation. Trump continued to be allowed to attend the event in spite of his protests and complaining. And this is Kimmel's reaction.
Remember the one he was screaming about, saying the judge wouldn't let him go to his son's graduation? Well, he was allowed to go to his son's graduation and almost immediately fell asleep there, too. He sat down, closed his eyes. He said, wake me when they get to the letter T.
After Trump announced on Truth Social that he would be attending the graduation and used fairly formal language in the post, Kimmel expressed disapproval of the president.
Did this. He wrote, going to Barron's high school graduation, great student, wonderful boy, very exciting, DJT. What a beautiful fatherly post. Isn't that so personal? It's like what you would say to your schnauzer after a graduated obedience school. What a wonderful boy.
For the high school graduation of their son, what type of father writes this? We won't talk about Trump's parenting approach at this time. The graduation ceremony will be remembered primarily for Donald Trump's non-speech. This enraged Kimmel, so he assembled a compilation of Trump's ridiculous statements to compose his own graduation speech.
He took the liberty of cobbling together some of his more inspirational moments to make this speech for his son's graduating class.
Let me begin by saying to each member of the graduating class, congratulations. You can do things that stupid people can't do. As we pursue this bright future, we must hold accountable the nation which unleashed this plague onto the world.
Jimmy was unrestrained in his mockery of Trump, dissecting nearly every statement he had made. For example, on May 19, 2024, Trump was overheard talking about the upcoming debates between him and the incumbent president, Joe Biden, at a speech in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Want to debate this guy, but you know, and I'm gonna demand a drug test too, by the way. I am. No, I really am. I don't want him coming in like the State of the Union. He was high as a cow.
Jimmy Kimmel fired back at Trump, accusing him of being stupid in thinking that Joe Biden would make a better debater if he was high. Did he just agree to the terms and circumstances of the discussions before adding some more regulations? The thoughts that go through that orange skull are never understandable to anyone.
Right. Sleepy Joe, he can barely put two sentences together, but he's also firing on all cylinders when he's on cocaine. What is this? What are they going to test him for? Sarsaparilla? I mean, really. And are we to believe that taking drugs makes one a better debater? I don't know if any of you have any experience with drugs. Well, from what I've gathered, that is not usually the case. Listen, the only drug Joe Biden is on starts with meta and ends with mucil, okay? Of course, Trump might not have to worry about any of this because he could be locked up on Rikers Island for the debates. It's a real...
Do you think that Jimmy Kimmel's appraisal of the potential debaters is accurate? If so, let's take comfort in the knowledge that Trump hasn't been able to penetrate Kimmel's head despite his whining, sobbing, and even formal complaints. Consequently, Kimmel never stops entertaining us by relentlessly criticizing and mocking Donald Trump. Is it Donald Trump or Joe Biden? If you like this video, please leave your thoughts in the space provided below for comments. Click the subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified when we upload our next video.